Good morning and welcome to Purpose Driven Finances, where our focus is helping you use your finances to achieve the purpose and plan for your life. And now here's the host of Purpose Driven Finances, Allan Malina with Serwus Capital Management.
Hey, good morning. This is Allan Malina, your host, Purpose Driven Finances, president of Serwus Capital Management. Sitting here with my fabulous co-host, Rich Roth. How you doing, man?
Good morning, Allan.
Hey, it's a glorious weekend. My wife said there's a cold front coming through. She said, if you're going to mow the grass, you better probably get it done. I'm like, well, I can mow it after the cold leaves.
It'll still be there.
It'll still be there. It might be even easier. I don't know. She does not like, because my front of my yard, it's just got a little bit higher, but she does not like having snow and seeing grass above the snow. So I'm like, let's snow a foot.
Right.
It's not that deep.
It just needs to snow more.
Exactly. But sitting here, Rich, appreciate you being co-host and sitting here with me. So, there was a little thing that happened on Tuesday. I would call it a butt whooping.
Oh, okay.
It was a butt whooping. And it was a butt whooping of the Democrats on the Republicans.
It was a butt whooping. But, in primarily blue states, Virginia was really disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? My biggest takeaway, how did Jay Jones win?
Yep.
How do people sit there and pull the lever for someone who does what he did to be the top law enforcement? He's the guy in charge of putting the bad guys away, and he's one of the bad guys. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, it's an amazing thing.
Although, I saw a funny stat, and I'm not going to get too in the weeds on this because I know you have a lot to do. But the biggest deciding factor in the New Jersey elections and the Virginia elections, white college-educated women.
Right, exactly.
Voted every other category, white college-educated women, white college-educated men, white, all the rest of them went Republican. It was white college-educated women that pushed the Democrats over the top.
And I heard that it was, they got the sensitive side out for the immigrants, the trans, I apologize not knowing that litany of letters. I apologize. That being said, that's what I heard too. It's sad.
So you're going to tell us how the election is going to impact the markets? Yeah,
well, not only the markets, because if it was a presidential election, it would be more along the lines of the markets. This realistically is what I decided to do is I hope the listeners enjoy this. I was meeting with some clients this week, and I told them what I was doing, and they would say, well, we would love to hear that. And so what I've done is a deep dive into basically 6 areas that the Virginia election is going to affect people on a daily basis. And what I've done is I've broken it down into the market and economy, financial planning, and those 2 areas. And everything is broken into those 2. And I had so much information that I've gathered. I was like, I got to refine it, boil it down. Because, if you remember like a year and a half, Rich, ago, you used to give me a hard time that I would come in here and almost script it. And you're like, come on, bro, you need to stop. You were so kind to me. And I've tried to make it where this isn't scripted, and hopefully it's usable information, because realistically, you're going to have to plan. And a lot of the implications are not only for families, but also small businesses. And so it's going to be rather interesting. And so I've come up with 6 topics, and I'm not going to cover all 6 today. We're going to either cover 2 or 3 today. And hopefully it's beneficial for people to analyze and figure out where we're going. Now, and then at the end, what I like to do is wrap it up with, and I've mentioned it sometimes here on the radio show, a book by Neil Howe. It's called The Fourth Turning. And he has done a tremendous amount of cultural political, economic research of the cycles that I think he even goes back to Roman times in some of his stuff in his research, but about the American cycle. And he has found it to be true in other cultures. And so I want to wrap it up with that to give some hope and some help. But, we'll see, what happens. And another thing, Rich, I'm going to, because I like to manage Republican money. I like to manage Democrat money, because that, because I dare to say you'll take your Republicans' advertising money and Democrats and Libertarians and someone who doesn't vote. You'll take their money as an advertiser.
Well, I mean, the bottom line, Alan, is if we can help people, right? I mean, the famous old story, right, about Michael Jordan was, he wouldn't campaign against Jesse Helms in North Carolina, and people got upset with him. And he looked at him and he goes, look, I'm a basketball player. Republicans buy sneakers too.
Right.
My job is to play basketball and sell sneakers. Right. So that's what he does.
Right.
Your job is to manage money, whether it's someone with conservative beliefs or liberal beliefs.
Right.
I mean, if you can help them, regardless of what your beliefs are, they should still want to use you if you're the right guy for the job. This radio station, we have Democrats who own businesses who don't love a lot of the content on the station, but they understand that they need to reach Republicans.
Right. Exactly.
And it's a good forum to help share their story and their message. So while they don't necessarily agree with the content,
right, exactly,
they want to get in front of the audience, right? Because if you own a building company or a bank or whatever it is, I mean, do you care what people's political beliefs are? You want people to do business with you.
And our social media has made it to where too much information is out there. I had we had a couple that Pam and I over our house yesterday, and not yesterday, 3 days ago. Really enjoyable time, great fellowship. But we brought up that there's certain things in relationships that we don't want to hear about, we don't care about. Please don't tell us. And in this modern day of social media, so often what you believe, how you believe, who you believe it with, and what you do is public knowledge. And we don't need that. So I am a conservative. However, I want to address this because we live in the world, but not always the world we want to. And we have to live with it and make the best of it. So let's jump right in. Our favorite word, taxes. Expanding taxes on services and the digital economy. And so it's expected that with, the Democrats in Virginia, because this is really focused on Virginia. And so with the Democrats basically controlling both houses, the Senate and the House, and have the governor, it's expected that they're going to increase taxes on service-based items, dry cleaning, home repair, subscriptions. And what is that going to do? I don't know about you at WLNI, but I know when I buy my monthly client relationship manager software or AI software or whatever, financial planning software, I don't pay any tax. But it would be a great place of revenue, for the state of Virginia to say, hey, you are now taxed on that good that you just produced, or not produced, but that you consumed. When you get your house done, yes, you pay it on the parts of your house that you're building, but you generally don't pay any taxes on the labor. So it's looked upon as doing that. So to me, that's going to be a ramification to the imagine if you go through all your subscriptions, you have Netflix, you have Amazon, Spotify, Apple, whatever else on a personal basis, and if they add 5 to 10% to that It's going to affect your local budget. Also, it's going to cost businesses more to do that. Now, Rich, I know you're a nice guy.
You do?
Yeah, you're a nice guy.
Okay.
And everybody says you. Yeah, I haven't actually met anybody that said that you were a punk or a jerk or no.
You need to meet more people.
I probably do. But as a small business owner, I mean, nice business. If you have an expense that goes up, eventually you're going to pass that on to your.
Got to.
Right. You
Got
have to.
And everybody's expenses are going up, right? I mean, I just look at the magazine. Postage is up, paper is up, and the printing costs are up.
Mm-hmm. So either James River Media goes in the red,
Mm-hmm.
you fire people, take pay cuts, or you have to increase cost. Sometimes all of the above. We don't like all of the above. And so from that standpoint, it's going to cause businesses to have a tougher time. Or do they pass it on? Is it going to be inflationary? In the digital economy, the taxes on streaming, cloud, digital ads, but also it's going to, it's going to cause, because one thing that's interesting is Virginia is an incubator for tech in many areas. Well, I'm not talking about Silicon Valley, but I'm talking about smaller. Like I have some friends who are working on new tech, but it's in the military industry.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty exciting stuff. That being said, it's going to cause an additional expense on them. And so from an investment perspective, municipal bonds and infrastructure may have a tailwind, and I would expect pressure on the consumer and services stocks, but more than importantly, it's going to affect households, because if there's additional taxes, then that's going to take out of your budget. So let's do financial planning around it.
Okay.
Expect higher monthly expenses. Now, this isn't going to happen. They fully take office, in June or something? I apologize. January. I have no earthly idea when they actually take office. None. So is it January?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have. I have no earthly idea.
They both start with a J. You're okay there.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate that. You're laughing at me, and I like that because I have no earthly idea when they actually go in office, and so it's not going to happen immediately, but I would expect it to gradually happen. And higher monthly expenses, and you need to audit your subscriptions. What you need to do is make sure that the subscriptions that you have, you actually use, and then cut the ones out you don't need. Why are you laughing at me now?
No, I'm just thinking when you say subscriptions, there are plenty, but I think TV, right? YouTube TV, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, right? The list goes on and on. Paramount Plus, Apple TV, right? HBO Max, Showtime. I mean, I know there are plenty of people who are sitting there going, oh, I didn't even realize I was still paying for that.
Right. And just imagine if they tax on all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be high. Also use, your HSAs to offset. Small business, I would, look at cash flow.
HSA, health savings account.
Look at that. I appreciate that, man. Yeah. Also, tax planning is accelerate deductions. You can do that federally, but it's going to be interesting to see how the state of Virginia manipulates it in order for their coffers to be made bigger. But the biggest thing in retirement is I would analyze your budget, because realistically, your grandkids come over and you pay for all these subscriptions. Just watch that and manage that. Anything anything you thought of?
No. I mean, I think you covered a bunch.
Let's go look at, I have this in 2026. I've already talked to someone about coming on to Service Capital Management, expanding my wife's duties. So this next subject is labor and wage policy. What'd you laugh at?
I would like to expand my wife's duties. I don't know how that would go over.
Well,
I think she wants to expand mine, at least around the house.
The honey-do list. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I felt bad for Pam. She called me on Friday and said, "What do you want for dinner?" I'm like, "Honey, I felt bad." So I was like, "I have no idea, and I don't care." It's bad. That's bad. But we
That's nice that she still asks.
yeah. And the problem is I'm not a foodie. She is.
Mm.
I could eat the same thing every day, and I do often. Okay, no more rabbit trails. Minimum wage, union expansion, and worker protections. That sounds really good, doesn't it?
No.
What's expected is for Virginia with a Democratic platform is to raise the minimum wage to 15 plus. That's really good. And so what's going to happen is CPI index, which realistically inflation is coming down. So, that's right now it's 3%. Higher labor costs in restaurants, retail, hospitality, and healthcare. You ever go to Five Guys?
Mm-hmm.
I like their food.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same price as a steak over at,
Oh, it's expensive.
Oh, it is. Same price. I'm not for that, the big old ribeye with the bone hanging out. What's that called?
A bone-in ribeye.
Yeah, maybe. But they have a special name. It's like the
Oh.
giant, like 24 ounce.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. But it's the same doggone cost. Can you imagine going and it goes up even more? Or, it's going to be tough. And so what's going to end up happening is companies are going to say, listen, fewer hours, we're going to automate, like going to McDonald's. Do you ever go to McDonald's?
Not often,
Yeah.
but every once in a while,
Mhm.
especially traveling,
I can't stand going in there and you have to go to the kiosk. There's no
Mhm.
one waiting, and they're like, got to go to the kiosk. And all that is to reduce labor. And it's to me, it's annoying because I have to learn how to use that kiosk.
Right.
I just want what I want. I don't want to have to learn how to use your kiosk.
I love when you go through the drive-through because this has happened to me recently because I was traveling a little bit and just want to grab something quick, and you go through the drive-through and they're like, are you ordering on the app? I'm like, no, I'm sitting in the friggin' drive-through.
Right, exactly.
I'm talking to you.
Exactly.
If I was ordering through the app, I wouldn't be talking to
Right.
you.
And I would be in that little parking spot that said parking spot number 5.
Right.
Yeah, what the heck, man?
Right.
What the heck? Eventually what they're going to do is have AI. But then what would be so funny is if you started messing with it and using some type of different dialect or, that would be fun. I so want to pretend, but then we'll get calls and you'll say, Allan, the views of this show are not of James or Remedi.
Right.
So expect more automation, price hikes. And when I say local inflation, and it, Lynchburg, Bedford, and Forest will probably feel it a bit sooner simply because it has to play catch up. And that's not a good thing. Another issue that probably the Democrats really, really enjoy is unions and bargaining. And it's expected that they're going to do away with the right to work here in Virginia. I'm not an expert in this field. And because when I have employees, I use a compliance firm to deal with this. But it's basically you can be let go for any reason.
Right.
But it's expected that the Democrats are going to soften that or do away with that. And they probably could if they have the majority. And the way the Democrats are playing right now, and the Republicans are going to fall right into it, as I expect, that next year, Schumer came out on Friday and said, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to offer you. I don't know if you heard this.
Mm-mm.
Schumer came out and said, listen, let's just do a temporary 1-year funding of health care, a little bit increased spending of not WIC, but SNAP.
Snap.
And let's just go as normal. Let's just open it up and just push it off to next year. Guess what next year is?
Midterm elections.
Exactly. And you know what the Republicans probably will do? They'll probably fall for it. But I kind of went off, a rabbit trail. And so what's going to happen is the right to work is probably going to erode. Mandatory dues and expected public sector bargaining. What is a public sector bargaining? Because in some districts around America, the school system has unions. So there's a possibility that the teachers could come together and form a union, which will be rather interesting. Because one way that the Virginia retirement system has increased the profitability or ability not to have so much debt is they've gone away from the guaranteed pensions for people in the Virginia retirement system and gone to a hybrid plan where you have to put into a 401k or 403b. Also, going on there, which means local taxes will go up for the wages and benefits. Now, better stability and benefits, but it's less hiring flexibility, and businesses will be less formed in the state of Virginia. Now, on top of that, it's expected that the Democrats will also increase the leave benefits, for people who get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say people, women who get pregnant. But then they want the partners in the Democratic regime want the partners to be able to have the same amount of time off as well. And paid family medical leave, sick day minimums, tighter 1099s and W-2 roles, which means for small businesses, higher and payroll and administration costs, and more income security for workers. And then finally, the outcome is going to be short-term demand is up, risk of stagflation simply because productivity lags, and margins will compress in places. How's this all apply to you folks?
That's what we want to know.
Exactly. Small businesses need to reassess their pricing, margins, and staffing. Do you put more on your current workers, or do you hire people with the expectation that you have to pay more benefits, more time off, more stuff like that? Also, automating stuff that you do in your business. And the reason I say stuff is because I'm talking, Rich.
Everybody's got different businesses.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you summed it up perfectly. And then looking at, a union benefit, LLCs, and then wage hour coverage. Households and employees, the budget for price increases. Now, what I mean by price increases is not only on your taxes, but also mandatory 401ks, 403bs, or union dues. But what's going to end up happening is that's going to cause inflation to go into what you purchase. Because if your local store is now unionized, then those stores are going to have higher prices. If you go wherever and it's unionized, it's just going to be more expensive. And what I would expect is, Lynchburg City has one of the higher personal property taxes here in Central Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And people go to Campbell County, they go to Bedford, and probably some other places in order to go to get lower taxes. The problem that happens, however, is if those localities, their expenses go up, what do they have to do? Raise the taxes on your house and your personal property. So what that means is, as prices go up, your disposable income goes down.
Mm.
And that's not a good thing. And so retirees and pre-retirees, you have to watch your Medicaid estate recovery rules and your modified adjusted gross income to stay under the Medicare and Medicaid limits, but also what is the expectation of the taxes on your RMD in the state of Virginia? Because I would expect that with all of the initiatives that the Democrats want to do in Virginia, I would expect that coming forward, it's going to cause the tax rates to go up. I mean, it just ultimately has to. So that being said, did I cover all three of them, Rich? We did, didn't we? Or did I skip around?
Yeah, you skipped around a little bit. You hit healthcare towards the end, right?
Yeah, I did. And I skipped I think we covered it. It's amazing. I don't know if I covered it fully,
Yeah, I mean, you've got a little more time if you want to elaborate on the healthcare.
Yeah, and exactly. Well, with their and I appreciate that, Rich. Healthcare, Medicaid, and public services expand the Medicaid expansion with broader eligibility, fewer tests, more coverage, and so what's going to end up happening is some of the things that are covered. It won't get as high, from what I understand, is it will affect some of the hospitals and what they get paid back from the state and from the negotiations from the federal government. And so possible reimbursement upticks and hospitals put a strain on their budget. So it could be an issue there. But also what ends up happening is it could mean if more people have health care or government health care, then it could mean that you have lesser quality of service simply because the infrastructure is not there.
Right.
And so, or if you go to the emergency room and you have a significant issue, but there's 40 people in there that have the flu.
Yeah, what's that do for you?
Exactly. Also, public health and mental health and addiction and elder care are expected to have more funding there. And, Lynchburg and Bedford and Campbell should have better access to these things. And but then employer mandates, paid leave, minimum coverage, short-term, high-term deductibles, things such as that. Winners, managed care, Medicaid, hospital systems, public plan administrations. Losers, private insurers. And so I would be defensive, but watch the margins. And I'm gonna take 38 seconds left. So what does it mean for families? Higher premiums, higher taxes. I think I got 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. So much
You
information.
said 38 seconds. I'm like, I don't think so.
Right. Also, the Virginia exchange subsidies. And you need to look at your long-term care strategies. And it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust that and change that. Small businesses. Your benefit cost models will probably increase. Self-funded or association plans, probably a 6 to 8% annual cost going up. I would expect more. I would expect more in your cost. And then finally, I would just expect higher taxes and more healthcare costs. Isn't that good news, folks? Isn't it good news?
Sounds good.
It's
sounds
I'm
great.
just kidding.
Sounds great,
What
Allan.
you need to do is part of the planning that you need to do is not only retirement planning, but you need to manage your budget going forward. I'm not talking about it from a fear perspective, but just saying, hey, let's look at my budget to see how it goes. Because a lot of the retirees are like, I'm sitting pretty with my income. You got to do a budget analysis, pre-retirement, post-retirement, and go from there. So I want to wrap up, like I'm going to do next week, because I think we can do 3 again next week, is wrap up with The Fourth Turning. Now, The Fourth Turning is a book that was written, I believe, in 2005, 2006, and he accurately called the financial crisis. He called for the pandemic, and he's calling for the federal government to be changed in a dramatic fashion. And look at the education, Board of Education, not Board of Education, the education system up in what is it, man? Do you know?
The Department of Education.
Department of Education. I forget about that. Allan, you're not politically minded. I'm not. But the climax of The Fourth Turning is expected in the early 2030s. And we'll get into it more maybe next week. But the biggest thing that I wanted to share is finally what needs to happen. And a friend of mine, I was listening to a conference call, and it was that Republican crony capitalism and raging socialist must fail for free market, liberty-loving, top-performing Americans to replace it. Because so many Americans are tired of Trump and the socialist Democrats. So, folks, give me a call, 434-316-0246. Hope you have a great and blessed weekend.
Illustrative Purpose. This is not a suggestion to buy, sell, or use a platform. Only will a suggestion occur after a meeting to determine goals, risk tolerance, and time horizons. Investments involve risks and no guarantee of future results.